to week 8 of the Hearthstone Global Games Community Show. As a special treat today, we have an interview all the way from the United Kingdom with the one, the only, Derek Brown. Derek, I hear that you are replacing Team United Kingdom today.
Yeah, that's right. After all 4 of the other members inexplicably fell ill, which I would know nothing about, I am taking up the reins and I will be piloting us to a victory on my own this week.
Oh, that's very exciting. How does it feel to be at home instead of in the HGG studio for once?
It's nice to take a bit of a break from the studio. It's getting a little bit crowded in the studio. One particular caster had particularly smelly feet who shall remain nameless, but it was you.
Oh, that's great. Anyways, do you think that the team are able to make it all the way to BlizzCon?
Oh, I just don't think there's a shadow of a doubt, because I'm not saying that England is the best team and all others suck, but the UK is undeniably the best team and all others do suck.
Yeah.
Oh.
The jig is up. Welcome to week 8 of the Hearthstone Global Games. It's the final week and all of the remaining teams have everything to play for. The winners will be going to BlizzCon and the losers will be going home.
Yep, we've already got a couple of teams already through to BlizzCon, and I believe just one team, sadly, being your team, eliminated from the top 16. But this is, like you said, it's crunch time. All the teams left are going to be qualified or knocked out by the end of the week.
How long in the show did we get before you had to remind me that?
That was record time. That was like 5 seconds.
Yeah. Before we go any further, though, I just want to remind all of you back home about HGG Cheer as we take a look at how we're currently doing. You can purchase some bits from Twitch just above us and use them in the chat box to the right-hand side of the Twitch video player to cheer on your favorite team. So far, we've had 16 million bits cheered for. And as you can see, if you as an individual cheer this many bits, as you can see on screen, you will earn that reward. If you cheer 2,500 bits, then you'll earn everything. And we seem to be getting closer and closer to our second community reward, which I believe is 2 more packs for everyone who has donated at least 800 bits once we get to 18 million overall.
That's not bad at all. And I'm not saying that the Leroy Jenkins emote has completely outclassed Smork, but let's be honest, it's so good.
As you can see, all of the teams, apart from the United States, need some help in order to catch up with the United States. Although, just a reminder, a percentage of the revenue generated from these bits do actually go to the players. And I was having a chat with some of the members of some of the real members of Team United Kingdom over the weekend, and they were very happy about it. They were saying, you know, we feel like we've actually gotten something from these bits. We're very happy with the system.
Yeah, it turns out that when you just give pro players a bunch of free money, they seem to like the new system. It's had a pretty good reception with the players.
And next little bit of housework before we get on to the next section. Don't forget, if you want to see what the deck lists are this week, you can type !deck lists and you'll see them. They are the same lists as last week, though. This is the first week where it's been the same lists over the course of both weeks because some of the teams have played twice last week, playing once this week. Some of the teams are playing an equal amount on both. You know, it's confusing. So.
And it's led to some teams being in a situation where they're saying this week should be better for us because we can't plan for one team in particular. We just have to plan for the field overall, and this has worked out better.
All right, let's take a look at some of the best moments from last week's games. You should be used to this by now. We do it almost every single week here in the Hearthstone Global Games Community Show. It's time for the top 5 moments. So let's take a look. Hello again. Sorry about that. We had a brief technical difficulty there. We didn't just both decide to be quiet while that clip was on.
Oh, I thought we'd finally been sapped. I thought it had actually happened, finally.
So let's just briefly go over what we just saw there. And basically, it was Hunter Race. Towards the end of what was a very long and grindy game, he had the ability, if he wanted to go face with the Super Collider, something that you'd never usually consider doing. But he was really considering it. And why was that, Derek?
Well, there was basically one instance where it would be good, because if Kolento played buffed up Saronite Chain Gang next turn, there would be the ability, it's quite complicated, for Hunter Ace to armor up, attack in, leave a Chain Gang at 1 health after the Super Collider hit, and then do a 1 damage Reckless Flurry, so it wouldn't kill off his own guys, which would have then delivered lethal. So basically, we could have seen the first ever Super Collider face for lethal, or at least the first I've ever seen.
The first one to set up lethal, anyway.
Oh, yeah, set it up.
And as it happens, as you saw a few moments later, Hunter Ace was in hysterics. That's because that exact scenario happened, and it turns out it would have set up the 2-turn lethal. They did win the game anyway, though, so it wasn't the end of the world. Let's take a look, and hopefully not be sapped this time, at clip number 4.
So here at clip.
Now, I was trying to troll production there. Okay, carry on.
Clip number 4, we have a moment that I think nobody was expecting, and Netherlands were very excited about. We're in one of the slowest and grindiest games, matchups in Hearthstone. They did find Rin of the First Disciple, which obviously is a fatigue just dominator. You just don't lose in fatigue when you get Rin. However, despite the fact that I believe they got 2 of them with Zola throughout the course of the game, they still lost that game of Hearthstone. That's how good the control mage is against the Odd Warrior.
Yeah, it was just too much pressure. The Odd Warrior never actually had the chance to go through all of the different pieces and summon Azari the Devourer, because the Warrior would have just died at any point that they tried to do that, which was a big surprise for me. I mean, we were watching, the others were casting that game, and we lost it when we saw that Rin, but it turns out it just didn't matter.
I mean, what legendary could you get that would be better in that matchup? Benedictus is like it. That's as good as it gets.
Yeah, that's about it. Let's take a look at clip number 3 for some more deck destroying or deck swapping shenanigans. Here it was the Togwaggle Druid for Delsum. There's a pretty important card in Togwaggle Druid. That would be Togwaggle himself.
Yeah, there's a reason why it is called that, and this is our obligatory let's laugh at the players clip. Where it's a little bit mean, but, you know, it happens in Hearthstone. Let's all have a good lull at Delsum there, very unfortunately burning King Togwaggle off the top.
He played that game out for a little bit longer, but there was just no win condition from that point.
I very much doubt he would have won anyway. That was a pretty miserable game state that he got himself in, and not a very good matchup at all. But it's always a good bit of fun when something like that happens.
And now we have even more deck swapping and deck taking shenanigans as we take a look at clip number 2. Now, there was a record-breaking game last week. I believe production informed us it was 1 hour and 13 minutes long.
Yeah, we had the suspicion it might have been even longer, but maybe that's just how it felt. Time is distorted. It gets a bit wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey here in the HGG studios. As you can see, Archbishop Benedictus coming down for the Viper in his Control Priest that just runs Benedictus, I would imagine pretty much just for this matchup, maybe for a couple of the other slow ones, but I'm struggling to think of all too many. And the even more unlikely thing than hitting Benedictus on curve in this matchup was getting Dr. Boom like 2 cards later, or like 1 card later. It was the first card drawn, I think, after Benedictus.
And it was for both players as well, wasn't it? Because it was in the deck when the Benedictus got played, and then Brazil drew it, and then Portugal drew it straight after, which meant, although the game, I guess, should have been a little bit more evenly matched, look, one of the decks is going to be empty a lot sooner than the other one.
Yeah, and in the end, they gave it a jolly good shot, did Brazil. But it was just never really even close. There was too many threats for Portugal with all that goodness that Benedictus tends to do.
All right, we only have 1 clip left this week, and I think it's a pretty good one. It's definitely the best clip that we've seen, and I think the most important thing about it is that it's the best played clip out of these 5.
Yeah, the other ones have just been a kind of a little bit, you know, Trollden-y style moments, like a bit of fun, mishaps happening here at the Global Games. It does happen. But this one, however, was just 2 turns that happened right after each other, which, to be honest, were just pretty beautifully played.
Let's take a look at clip number 1.
And this is going to take a little bit of explaining real quick as to where we are. It's OTK Paladin for Tice, and he has the OTK set up next turn, with the hero power plus the 3 in hand, he can just end the game with the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. But what Hong Kong is doing here is Loosefield is playing out all these glacial shards, so there is no room to play the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse because they can't attack with the frozen minions. As you can see, Tice having a bit of a laugh about it. And then on the following turn, the 1-mana Shudderwock will deliver exactly 30 lethal after being played 10 times to close out the game.
But 30 damage isn't enough when the Netherlands use their Call to Arms to grab the 1 Armor Gain card from their deck. They use Pyromancer to bomb the board, leaving themselves with 33 health. 10 Shudderwocks is only dealing 30 damage. There's no way that Hong Kong can get lethal next turn.
And after this absolutely gorgeous play from the Netherlands, they survive, well, hypothetically at 3 health. I don't believe Loosefield ended up playing it out in the end. He kind of gave up halfway through because he knew there was no way he could do it. But if he had decided to play it out, it would have been 3 health left for the Netherlands, and they would have won the game with the OTK Paladin combo.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest, I was a little bit derisive of Tice's choice to persuade his teammates to let him bring OTK Paladin. But I believe in the top 16, OTK Paladin was the only deck the Netherlands won with full stop.
Yep.
They went 1-3 in both games with an OTK Paladin victory in both.
Yeah, that's true. It's one of the only decks that's, I think, 100% in the Hearthstone Global game.
Wow, a 100% win rate deck.
Let's take a look at what's coming up next, and it's going to be a reminder of where we stand currently in the Hearthstone Global Games. Phase 1 ended before last week, and we started Phase 2, which is only comprising of weeks 7 and 8. It's the double elimination group stages, and let's take a look at who are in these 4 groups. Group A, Brazil, Chile, Spain, Portugal. Group B, the United Kingdom, Bulgaria, Netherlands, and Hong Kong. Group C, Singapore, Chinese Taipei, New Zealand, and the United States. And Group D, Ukraine, China, Switzerland, and Norway.
And it's been a bit of some upsets, I would say, in the top 16 so far. We've seen both Chinese Taipei and the United States, who I pegged as the 2 strongest teams in that group, both knocked down to the losers bracket. New Zealand already qualified through to BlizzCon. And then in the game that we got to cast, which I believe was one of our favourite of the tournament so far, Ukraine up against Norway,
yeah,
where Norway were so unfavoured in that matchup. Not because of calibre of player or style of play, anything like that. They just hadn't brought the right decks, or it hadn't matched up in the right way at least. And they just played out their minds and got an unbelievable victory. So no matter what you think can happen, it might not be right. Anything can happen at this point.
Let's go through the groups one at a time and take a closer look at how each one is doing. There you go. Portugal took down Brazil. Brazil, who had been undefeated until that series, and Spain beat Chile. So winner's match tomorrow will be Portugal versus Spain. Winner of that match will be going to BlizzCon.
Yeah, and for you Spanish fans, go to Akawonda's Twitter page. I believe he just tweeted out a corrected time of when they are playing tomorrow, because I think there was an old schedule and now a new schedule, because it's got a little bit complicated. We've reworked it. So if you are a Spaniard or a Spain fan at the very least, go over to his Twitter page, or we'll have everything for you at the end of the day.
This week's schedule is quite complicated.
It is a little.
We'll try and explain that when we get there, but let's take a look at Group B and see how they are doing. Bulgaria have advanced to BlizzCon after taking down the Netherlands and also the United Kingdom. Tomorrow, Hong Kong will be against the United... Oh, no, sorry, on Wednesday, the United Kingdom will face off against Hong Kong. Winner of that series goes to BlizzCon, loser goes home.
And while I am obviously a little bit upset that the UK couldn't just sail through for a ticket to BlizzCon, love any chance to hang out with the boys. But I would be very happy. I'm very happy to see Bulgaria going through. We couldn't even get an interview with Silent Storm at the end, I believe, because he was just so excited, or at least I'm choosing to believe that was the case, not technical issues, that he was just running around screaming, I'm sure.
Let's take a look at Group C. See if anyone has qualified here. New Zealand, after taking down Chinese Taipei, and Singapore have booked their ticket to BlizzCon. And now looking at the losers match, Chinese Taipei are going to have to go up against the United States. Loser of that series goes home. Winner plays Singapore. Loser of that series goes home. Winner of that series goes to BlizzCon.
And it just seems insane to me that either Chinese Taipei or the United States could be eliminated tomorrow. They're playing, I believe, tomorrow. And then that will change how the schedule is. We'll get to that at some point. But either one of those teams, my pick in Chinese Taipei, or probably the strongest remaining team, maybe Norway would have, or Ukraine would have something to say about that. In my opinion, however, USA, especially with Just Saying's dominant streak at the moment, are just looking unstoppable. But they could, in fact, be stopped.
They could be stopped indeed tomorrow, as you said. Let's take a look at the final group. It's Group D, the group that we called the Group of Death last week. Norway beat Ukraine in an incredibly unfavored series. China beat Switzerland, so winner of Norway versus China will be going to BlizzCon. In the losers bracket, Ukraine versus Switzerland. Loser of that series goes home. Then the winner of that series plays the loser of Norway-China. Winner of that one goes to BlizzCon.
And I think if you had to pick any two teams out of Norway or China to go through, one of them guaranteed going to BlizzCon makes a good amount of sense. China were expected to do reasonably well, I think, going into the start of the global games, and have consistently exceeded expectations. They've just been playing very solid decks, a little bit off meta some of the time compared to the other players, as the Chinese players often do. It's a little bit more separate in terms of meta compared to the Western world, at least. But they've been doing consistently very well, and I expect to see good creative styles of play from them going forward if they get to BlizzCon.
Now, Derek, who did you say was the best team in the Hearthstone Global Games currently?
I hate to say it because Norway are so good, but USA, all four of their players are just out of their mind good.
Well, Zorgthar from Team Norway definitely disagrees with you about that. I had a sit down with Zorgthar this morning to see what he thinks of the Hearthstone Global Games and how he finds it managing one of the best teams in the world at Hearthstone. Take a look. Good morning, Zorgthar, and welcome to the Hearthstone Global Games Community Show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Firstly, Norway, so close to qualifying for BlizzCon. I'm going to ask you this straight away. Are you guys going to make it?
Yeah, we are.
Wow.
There is no doubt about that. We are the best team in this year's Global Games.
We are the best team in this year's Global Games. Okay. Big words, but I think it's fair to say you've earned them. Who do you think the other big teams are this year, or the other best teams? Anyone that has maybe a fighting chance against you?
I mean, Ukraine, which we already beat, so that's kind of it in my book.
Really?
Yeah.
Just Ukraine?
Yeah, just Ukraine.
Don't want to give anyone else any credit? United States? Maybe Brazil?
I mean, there is a lot of good teams that have done well, like United States got back from a 0-2, and Brazil has done well, right? But I don't know. I have a lot of respect for Ukraine, but we already beat them, so...
All right, I know what you want to talk about, Zorgthar, and you want to talk about your boys. So tell me about Team Norway, or Team Nordavind, if you want. Either or.
I mean, Kolbein, he's like the water boy. He caters to the stuff that, like, if we don't pay attention to something, he does. Like, he knows his role, he doesn't say too much, but he doesn't interrupt. And, like, when he has something to say, he says it, so, like, no one is afraid to say what they have to say. And then we have, like, Huntrace. Like, the best way to use Huntrace is that you support him. Like, he does the thing, he's his thing, and then you just, like, bounce with him, his, like, communication and stuff. You just bounce talks. And then we have NTR. He's like, I don't know, the brains maybe. He does most of the strategizing and the thinking. And then we have me. I'm the leader, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so
more or less it.
When you say you're the leader, what does that... How does that translate to the Hearthstone Global Games? Is that more for preparation, or is that more for the gameplay itself?
I mean, it's a lot of, like, the organizational stuff in a way. Like, I put together all the groups, all the chats, all the emails, etc., etc. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's just a role that's always been there for me, even for everything I've gone. It's just natural to take responsibility. Like, I've never been afraid to stick my head out.
Okay. How long have you known your teammates?
Oh, years. So that's like a huge edge in the global games, because we can, like, we know, like, we don't have to practice communication. We just know what to say. We know when to not say anything, and it's like it's perfect.
Do you think that's a pretty big advantage in the Hearthstone Global Games, like not having to practice the communication?
I would say so. Like, not having to practice it is one thing, but like having the chemistry and like the friendship and etc. that we have, it's like I trust these boys. It's like my in real life friends. So it's a little different, but like our communication is like overall really good. Like we click, so we are like friends and we have a lot of fun. That's like the main thing. We have a lot of fun when we play. Like regardless of situation, we always try to keep it positive and like have it lighthearted.
I think that's very interesting point actually, that you have a lot of fun when you're playing, because obviously all four of you have been playing Hearthstone for a long time, as you said. You take it very seriously. You have a successful team both within and outside of the Hearthstone Global Games. How do you manage to keep it fun?
Humor, a lot of bad humor. That's the best way to explain it.
There you go, Derek. The key behind being good at Hearthstone: humor.
That's why I suck at Hearthstone.
It is indeed. Let's take a look at what's coming up next, though. It's the last week here in the Hearthstone Global Games Studio in Poland. Let's make some good matches. Tomorrow, we have Switzerland versus Ukraine, Portugal versus Spain, China versus Norway, Brazil versus Chile, and finally, Chinese Taipei versus the United States. What are the big matches there, Derek?
It was kind of tough to choose a star match. I think everyone would agree China versus Norway is going to be a good one, another qualification match. But for me personally, it has definitely got to be USA versus Chinese Taipei. It's obviously a lot invested for me because it's my pick in Chinese Taipei, and it's an elimination match, which we always love to see. Very dramatic, and whoever loses that match, as I said, will just be eliminated from the global games. And while everyone was expecting USA to have been eliminated after like week 2, after they just went on a big loss streak, they turned it around big time and are now looking to be hopefully getting through to BlizzCon, because, I mean, it's not much of a trip for them, is it?
No, it's not. It's not far at all. Now things get a little bit complicated as we take a look at Wednesday's schedule. Okay, first up, we may or may not have Chinese Taipei versus Singapore. We have a little mana crystal asterisk there. The reason for that is that if Chinese Taipei beat the USA, this match will be happening 2 hours before our regular start time on Wednesday. So that will be 1 p.m. CEST. If USA beat Chinese Taipei, then this match won't be happening at all. And instead, USA will be facing off against Singapore on Thursday.
Yeah, so there may or may not be a broadcast on Thursday. We'll update it, I'm sure, on the HS Esports Twitter page or wherever else. Or follow these two guys on Twitter if you want updates. We'll definitely be posting them. But basically, it could change around a little bit depending on whether Chinese Taipei or USA win. So make sure you are watching that match, not only for the schedule changes, but also because it's just going to be a blooming good game of Hearthstone.
That is the Thursday schedule that may or may not happen. Again, if Chinese Taipei beat United States, then the Singapore game, let's call it the Singapore game, that makes more sense. The Singapore game will take place Wednesday. We neglected to mention there United Kingdom versus Hong Kong also happening Wednesday. That's a big one because that's winning in, losing out.
Yeah. Those are the most exciting ones. Just nice and simple. Whoever wins that series of Hearthstone will be through.
So let's take a look at the start times, which shouldn't be quite so complicated. Wednesday, 4 p.m. CEST. It will be 2 hours earlier if if Chinese Taipei win that series.
Yes.
Oh, it's so confusing. There you go. If you're in Korea, there's the start times. And finally, if you're on the west coast of America, there you go. There's your time in PDT. Now, of course, the big moment. Which game is... Well, you mentioned that you said the biggest game was going to be USA versus Chinese Taipei. Who do you think is going to win it? Twitch chat, vote now with ! Chinese Taipei or ! Vote United States. Derek?
I mean, as much as I would like Chinese Taipei to win it, I don't even know what I want to make it interesting again of what I would do if USA lose this vote. Because, let's be honest, USA being like #1 in cheer by a million miles, USA are going to win this vote. But if USA don't win, I will... I don't know, I need to think of a good one. I'll let you tweet one tweet of your choice from my account, whatever you want.
That is very exciting indeed. Okay, you're on, Derek.
All right.
That doesn't mean that if Chinese Taipei win, then...
No, it just means I'm a mad lad.
Okay, we're good. We're good. All right, let's take a look at the caster predictions for one last time and how we've all done. And whew, there has been a bit of a bloodbath in there with only yourself, Gaskin, Sottle, and Lorinda remaining even in the competition.
Yeah, Gaskin has been doing very well. I don't think anyone expected UK to be doing quite this well. To be perfectly honest, as much as I'm rooting for you.
When we gave Gaskin the United Kingdom as a pick, we thought we were giving him the bum end of the deal, but...
yeah, my pick in Chinese Taipei still holding on by the skin of their teeth, but I still have hope.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if they win the whole of the tournament, then you win the caster tournament, I guess. So there you go. We have plenty more from Zorkthar to hear about as we just hear more of his, well, boasting about how good his team is. Let's have a watch. What have been the difficulties for you and the team throughout the Hearthstone Global Games? Have you had any tough weeks, such as when playoffs have been happening?
Yeah, like it's been hard some weeks to find time to prep, but some of the weeks, Kolbeinn, for example, has stepped up a little since he hasn't been playing playoffs and, for example, scouted a little. So we balance the workload pretty well, but yes, it has been a time struggle because we have a lot of other stuff going on as well.
But Hearthstone Global Games has been a pretty good priority for you guys?
Yeah, it's been really, really fun. Like, you get to represent Norway, and it's like something there to my heart. And I think it's that for the rest of the team as well.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that then, because obviously we've had a tour stop in Norway. We have another one coming up soon. Yeah. What's the Hearthstone scene like in Norway?
It's still pretty small, but it's bigger than what it was when I started some years ago. So it's growing, and like fan-wise, it's getting a lot bigger.
Okay.
But player-wise, it's not that much. But we have a league and we have a team league, and yeah.
All right, sure. But I remember last year one of the big stories of the Hearthstone Global Games was Finland and their community and how they're all welcoming, and Finland, Winland, and all of that. How would you say Norway's community compares to that then? Do you have a lot of new players that you're talking to and encouraging all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have our community is much bigger than the Finnish community, so it's but everyone is like friends with everyone. So if you meet someone who you have played in the league on a tournament, for example in Oslo, you're gonna say hi. They can say hi. It's not like everyone is welcome. That's like the bottom line.
And have they been cheering you on throughout the Hearthstone Global Games?
I mean, I haven't checked that much, but I think we have a pretty good percentage, share-wise, if you look at population.
I meant have they been supporting you? But yeah, I mean, sure, cheers are good as well.
I mean, we have the share thingy going, so. But yeah, they sharing. They have been supportive, getting a lot of DMs and messages on Battle.net even. So yeah, it's a lot of support. We have our own Facebook group, and people are writing and posting, and yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your upcoming match. Remind me, who are you up against this week?
We are up against China.
And it's win in, lose out?
Correct.
Oh, big game then. How are you feeling about that?
Feeling really good. They don't have Quest Rogue.
Okay. Well, my next question was going to be, how do you feel about this week as it's the first time ever you've not been allowed to change decks? But it sounds like the answer to that is pretty good.
When we build deck, we always almost immediately agree on everything. It's we just agree on what's the best thing because we have worked together for so long. We see the same things. We have different practice groups, and we just make the best conclusion. So the strategy we went for was just the best decks because we have it was. Of course, we thought about Ukraine a little more than the rest because they were the first match, but we didn't specifically prepare for Ukraine. We just more specifically be more prepared to have a overall good decks to beat everything because we wanted to get to BlizzCon.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to get to BlizzCon. I'm sure China particularly want to get to BlizzCon as well. It's going to be down to you to stop them.
Yeah.
Okay, now Ukraine, the game last week, that was really something, if I remember rightly, because you came out of the matchup phase quite unfavored, and managed to take that one back. Talk to me about that series.
Checked some stats on Twitter afterwards, and they had almost 70% to win that game after the bans and now after the Q order. So the fact that we took it home was pretty big. The community really appreciated that one, I think.
What do you think went wrong for Ukraine in that series?
I mean, it's a lot of things. Like specifically, you can go into play stuff, and you can go into mulligans stuff. But like personally, I feel that they actually just like they could have won, and they didn't play as well as they could have. To put it like that.
Okay, and that's the team that you guys have respect for.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
But then again, you come back to the communication thing. Like, I can't get into why they did what they did, but it's like you take you talk and then you make a decision based on that, right? So I don't know. Something went wrong at least.
So Norway, the best Hearthstone Global Games team, according to Zorkthar from Team Norway. Are you going to take the whole tournament for Lorinda? Who?
I mean, hopefully we are taking it. Like skill-wise, it's there, and we have the composition to do it. So why not?
All right. Well, good luck with your game against China, and hopefully we will see you at BlizzCon.
Thank you. Thank you. See you there.
It's a very confident man, is Zorkthar, isn't he?
Well, why shouldn't he be? He's got blooming Hunter Ace on his team as the, I suppose, star player, although I think even Hunter Ace might slightly resent that because he has nothing but respect for his fellow teammates because they are just the best of the best, all four of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us casters have spoken to Zorkthar a lot throughout the season because he's been sort of one of our sources for information for Team Norway, and he's always just really complimenting his team and Hunter Ace for being so like willing to accept advice from others. He's always saying one of the best things about Hunter Ace is actually he's not arrogant. He does listen to everyone.
And that is important. You need to be able to delegate. Like Akawanda was even saying in his interview where he realized, you know what, these guys have played more tempo mage. I'm just going to let them make the decision even though I disagree because I trust them. It's so important to have that trust in a team. All
right, the results are in. Chinese Taipei versus USA. You have voted and the results are... Oh. Yeah, I'm not too surprised by that at all.
Me neither, and thankfully one of my stupid bets is safe for another day. You shall not be tweeting from my account on this day. Although that, that's not a bad score for Chinese Taipei, considering how much of the audience is always from the USA.
I think the game itself is going to be a lot closer than the votes would suggest. Honestly, I honestly couldn't tell you who I actually think will win.
No, I really couldn't predict it. I'll have to take a little bit of a closer look at the deck lists before the game to see how it lines up. But no matter how good USA are, they're up against Tom60229. They're up against a champion. And I would argue some of the other players on Team Chinese Taipei could definitely give him a very good run for his money.
All right, it's that time again, Derek. It is time for us to see what Twitch chat have been spamming while we have been talking. It's time for the viewer Q&A. So, production team, hit us with the first question. How many meta shifts do you expect before the next expansion? Will the decks that we see now... Will the decks that we see now will be the decks seen at BlizzCon? I mean, I don't know, because BlizzCon is happening, or it should be happening right at the end of this expansion cycle. And, like, decks do appear at the end. Look at Death Rattle Hunter, last expansion.
Well, decks are still appearing now after Asmodee's hit of Rank 1 Legend just yesterday, 2 days ago, was it? With the Xerix Cloning Gallery Priest that we were joking about just last week on this show as being a bit of a meme. And, just because a deck hits Rank 1 Legend does not make it a top-tier competitive deck. It can be a little bit of a niche. Maybe he hit an upswing. But I feel like Boomsday introduced so many weird cards that should be so powerful that the constant experimenting, just the theme of the set coming into reality, something else has to be found because at the start, at least, I think we can all agree. It was kind of looking like it would be very, very similar to the Witchwood expansion, just with some decks rising in popularity, like Quest Rogue with Giggling Inventor thrown in there as well. But I still have very high hopes that some of the mad geniuses of Hearthstone will be able to get to work and make some new, exciting decks for us.
Personally speaking, I wouldn't expect any major meta shifts between now and BlizzCon, unless there are nerfs. Which, at the moment, it doesn't look like there's any planned, but anything could change. If that happens, then yeah, there'd be pretty huge shifts. But otherwise, I think, maybe the odd new deck gets made or gets made more powerful, but otherwise I don't think you should expect anything wildly different from what we're seeing now. What's the next question, production team? What is love? Love is wild growth on turn 2.
No, I'll show you what love is, man. Come here. Bring it in.
Ah.
No. That's love. Next question, please.
It's the most intimate moment I've ever shared on a broadcast.
It's the most intimate moment I've ever shared. I am a very lonely man.
Okay, we had this question last week, Theo. Come on now. Come on, man. To be fair, since we last had this question, it has won 2 games, so...
And then you went and played it on ladder and went 0-6, was it? You didn't do great with it, did you?
I've stopped feeling the love, Derek.
We're back into our usual groove.
Yeah, we had a solid, like, 10 seconds.
I've got my mojo back, which means I'm going to be right back to being mean to you.
We have one more question from Twitch chat. Let's take a look at what it is. Dan Gaskin, how much are you going to miss Gaskin and Lorinda?
Who?
We have Paul.
We are going to miss our good friends Gaskin and
Yeah,
Lorinda.
of
Did
course
a great job on the Global Games casting desk.
Though we do have Raven this week to fill the void, so you should look forward to seeing him tomorrow. But that is it. That is the last Hearthstone Global Games community show. We do hope you've enjoyed what we put together every Monday, all of the silly little video segments and everything else. But for now, we will see you tomorrow morning for the last week of the Hearthstone Global Games.